Hey, welcome or welcome back to Babe and Library. It's your girl Lisa, and today I am filming my fourth quarter wrap up. It's January, and I'm super late in terms of getting this out, but I think a lot of us are still getting our 2022 wrap up content out. So I'm not going to waste any time. I'm going to jump into the books that were most surprising, ones that I loved, and ones that were disappointing. But before I do that, I will say I had a stellar fourth quarter. October was spectacular. November was just as great, and December really knocked it out of the park. So I'll start with some statistics. In October, I think it was the best reading month of, I read 15 books. So 2 of them were nonfiction, 13 of them were fiction, and I also had 2 DNFs. In November, I read 10 books, 1 nonfiction, 9 fiction, and in December, I read 12 books, all fiction. So in total, I read 37 books, not including the 2 DNFs. So that was a really good fourth quarter for me. I'll start off with my most surprising books. So the first one I will say is a part of the Bergman Brothers series. I did do a whole entire reading vlog, so I'll link that in the description below. But my favorite of the entire series is Ever After Always, which is the 3rd in the series. And it took me by surprise because I really had no intention of reading Freya and Aiden's Marriage in Trouble book. And I would have been remiss because not many people talk about it because they're already a couple, but it is amazing. Like, again, my favorite book of the series. It is not up for debate. This pretty much is aptly named, right? This is a marriage in trouble romance where what happens after that fairy tale, right? We all want the princess, I do, live happily ever after. This shows Aiden and Freya, who's been married for 10 years, and they really have to work to make that happen, right? They have to work at their marriage when they've kind of drifted apart. You've got a dirty talking parrot, a game of Twister, and pretty much meddling brothers that will do anything to get their marriage back on track. So I loved it, gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It talks about anxiety and body shaming, the implication of having financial stress and that being a trigger from your childhood, dealing with Asian parents, alcoholism, and parental abandonment. So while it does have, some really steamy scenes, some swoony romance, there are some heavier topics, but again, best in the series, in my personal opinion. And I was surprised because I just knew that I couldn't get better than the first one. And lo and behold, Chloe Lease made a liar out of me. So that was my first surprising read. The next surprising read is going to be Long Shot by Kennedy Ryan. And it's not surprising that I would love a Kennedy Ryan book just because I think everyone loved it. But I think everyone hypes up Blockshot because it's that, like, cheating trope and it has so much drama and angst. But Long Shot is really where Kennedy Ryan grips you, right? It is where you've got 2 people that no matter the circumstances, they are destined to be together. They love each other, and it gave me Love and Basketball feels. So there's a popular quote in Love and Basketball. It's the "I'll play for your heart." Long Shot had "I'd play you at center," which gets me every time. Anytime I hear August say "I'll play you at center," I like. Or even when Iris is repeating that in her head, it broke me apart. This is where you've got August who loves her unconditionally. I will say there are some trigger warnings you want to be mindful of. This is a very heavy book. So it has domestic abuse, it has rape, gaslighting, financial manipulation. It has quite a bit, but Kennedy Ryan handles it with so much care. She absolutely loved this book. It was 4.5 stars. And it really took me by surprise. So my next surprising read, Confessions in B Flat by Donna Hill. I gave this 5 stars. I was surprised because this had been on my TBR for quite some time, and I just saw it and picked it up on a whim. I actually bought this when I was in Harlem. I hadn't heard anyone, and I do mean anyone. No one is talking about this book, and I loved it. This is a civil rights love story that has a Romeo and Juliet feel. So this is kind of marketed as a civil rights love story with that type of trope, and it gave exactly as it should, right? So you've got the main character Jason, who is a Southern sweetheart. He's staunch in his faith, and he follows the practice of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And on a bus ride leaving the South going to New York, he comes across Anita. Anita is a fiery femme fatale. She is following the prophet Malcolm X, and she is a poet, and it is their love story. How they have differences in ideologies, and it kind of transports you back in time, because this was based in 1963. You feel a lot of the history and a lot of the context, but wrapped around in a love story to say, hey, can love conquer all? Can we put our differences aside even though we have the same ultimate goal? And can we live our lives to be happy, and have a household that's built off of love and respect? It truly hits different, in terms of being back in the scene and being able to see real photos, right? So there's photos that are in this book, Angela Davis, and you get to see real life photos of Malcolm X, right? Not only is this a beautiful story, but it's wrapped in history. So 5 out of 5 stars, absolutely love it. Surprised me because hadn't heard anyone talk about it, and I want to see more people read this. My final surprising read is not as heavy as Confessions in B Flat. It is a light, short, smutty, quick holiday novella, and it is Scream for Us by Molly Doyle. So Scream for Us is quick. I think it's like less than 115 pages or so, but Molly literally, this was like her wet dream that I feel like she wrote before it left her brain, and she was like, I've got it. It's gold. This is a wild 24-hour story about this main character who meets a group of guys who are all in Halloween costumes. So you've got someone in the Scream mask, you've got someone in a Jason Voorhees mask. I'm really sure all the characters, but you've got 3 men meet this heroine at a party, fall in love or fall in infatuation. They get it in various places. People try to mess with her, and they slice and dice in, all in the name of their female main character. And I'm going to tell you, there is nothing better than revenge and orgasms, and Molly Doyle's make sure she delivers that and more in Scream for Us. And so I'm going to start with one of my disappointing reads. Actually 2 by the same author. So unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to say right now, Shay Sanders and me don't necessarily see eye to eye, because in October I tried Trick and I've tried Trapped. Now I've heard Treat was pretty good, but being that I read 2 Halloween novellas from her, I've read some other novellas from her, I know that they're smutty, I know that they're quick, they don't really scratch my itch. So Trick was a Halloween story where 2 characters are set up on a blind date or set up by their friends to go on a hayride. It's hot, it's quick. Unfortunately, the thing that really triggered me, again, it's a novella, so it's 60 pages or so. What I didn't like was the main character's apathy to shooting up the club. So for me, right, I don't care which way. Either you're going to be adamant about strapping up and not wanting to have a baby, or you're going to be down for the cause and you're going to be intentional. For me, acting indifferent is irresponsible, right? So like going in and being like, oh, I don't care what you do, and saying that, right? It's not the act of doing it and not caring. It is saying, I don't care if you get me pregnant. Ma'am, you should care. You should care. It just really read and rubbed me the wrong way. So while it was hot, I couldn't see past her indifference. Trapped was not my forte. Like, she goes into a club, meets this demon. This demon takes her around. Then he puts her in some sort of... it just wasn't for me. So I'm gonna say Shay Sanders, not the girly for me. Another book. Now this one I absolutely abhorred. Like, this one hurts my heart to say it, and I do mean it hurt my heart. Like, I was grappling for a minute after reading this because it's Haven by my girl Rebecca Weatherspoon. Now, to me, Rebecca Weatherspoon touches some things and it turns to gold. But this is probably my second book that I've read from her that I'm like, ooh, sis, I hate it. Like, one, I was like, okay, this one, I hated it. Like, I gave it a 1 star. And it pained me. Like, this was one of the first times that I had a hate read. And I didn't see that coming from Rebecca Weatherspoon. Like, this is the first in the Bondage and Bearded series. And I'm surprised because the second one, which is Sabotage, or I'm not sure what the second one is, but I actually love the second book in the series. So I'm glad I read them out of order and I read that first, because if I had read Haven first and then thought I was going to continue on the series, it would have never happened. But this is one where I got so frustrated reading the book. I had to put it down and sleep. Like, I had to go to bed mad to sleep on it to say, do I push through and finish reading? Granted, it's a compulsive read. I read this in 2 days, digitally, and it was quick, but it wasn't painless. Like, one of the first things that I did not care for, granted, I understand in a BDSM relationship, the word dom, a master, is appropriate for a dom. However, in a BBWM, so a black woman, white man romance, it's a trigger for me. I don't really care for it, and I would have appreciated if she could have used the word sir. Something else. Something other than master. Granted, I trust Rebecca Weatherspoon, and I know that she wouldn't do me that type of harm, or her readers specifically, you know, based on the fact that not only do I love her, but she's a black woman, and she knows that that's unacceptable. So I get that she was just playing into the word that's typically used in the BDSM community, but for me, it could have told the line of slave play, and that's not a me thing. However, Rebecca didn't do that. It just was triggering, and that was one of the reasons why I couldn't care for it. Now, I also wasn't really feeling the lack of description. It felt like this was one of Rebecca's first books. Like, she was trying some things out. Like, she was like, I've got an idea. I'm putting it on paper. I'm not going to spend the time to flesh it out. We couldn't even get a description of what kind of dog Titus was. We could not. Everything read pretty much generic, with the exclusion of the sex scenes. Like, and granted, I'm here for a good time. Sometimes I don't even need a long time, but I need more. So this was very toxic. The relationship between Claudia and her guy was very unhealthy, and I just didn't need it. So 1 star. Haven, it wasn't the book for me. Very disappointing. Set is one of my favorites. Like, it is a novella. There is no excuse for not picking this up. If you ever had any inkling of wanting to know what kind of goodness Alexandria House can give it to you, read Set or read Ja. So Ja was a 4-star read, but Set was a 5-star read. Like, this is my man. I'm writing for Set. Like, and there's nothing in particular that I can give you to point it out. Just, first of all, look at him. He fine. Fine. That's my man. This is the story of Set and Karima. They went to high school together. didn't really deal with each other back then. Seth was the bad boy. Karima was the good girl, very smart. Now Karima is going back to her school reunion, and she gets to meet Seth. They start like this travel romance where they're flying to meet up with one another, you know, having a really good time going about their separate ways until Seth's like, hey, I'm tired of you flying away. I want you next to me. I want more than this relationship. This is a he falls first. And it was great. Like, this was a fully established book. And she did it in less than, it was like maybe it's 100 pages, right? Like, so this gave me everything. You got to see, there are older characters. So you've got Karima, who is a grandmother. She is dealing with her spoiled, entitled daughter. Seth is shutting it down, like, your ex-husband don't need to continue to be in your life. He don't play about his woman. He came down and shut shit down when Karima's ex-husband was all up in her mix and said, I'm her man. I'm a ride for her. I'm a fighter. Don't make me fight you, bruh. Love it. Next I will say the two I've got remaining are vying for number one spot, right? So my number 2 read, and that was Charming Your Dad by Sarah Blue. When I tell you I was obsessed. Like, I am waiting to purchase this book. I've kind of been holding off, knowing that I needed to purchase some other books for author meetings I'm coming to, but Sarah Blue's Charming Your Dad will be purchased within the next few months. I'm obsessed. It became a new personality. Like, I couldn't stop thinking about Daxodon. I couldn't stop thinking about the daddy kink that he inspired me. Like, he knocked Emerson, who was my boo, he knocked him down. Like, when I thought I couldn't find another daddy that satisfied me, Daxodon said, hey, you ain't met me yet. Yeah, like, this is peak Halloween energy, and it gave me everything I needed. Like, it is a paranormal romance, so you've got a incubus with a witch. There's sex clubs, there is a body snatcher, there is torture utilizing Taylor Swift song on replay. Like, I can't, there's a trip to hell. I can't get enough. This was perfection. 5 out of 5 stars. Lastly was my actual favorite book of the year. This is now an A.E. Valdez stan account, A Worthy Love. I actually received an ARC from the author and went to go purchase it immediately. Like, check out. I didn't even make it through the book before I said, oh, this is being bought. This is 500 pages of pure goodness. Like, Amanda put her whole body into this. Like, she said, I'm not just gonna give you my foot. I'm not just gonna give you my leg. I'm gonna give you my back. I'm gonna give you all of me. And I'm gonna make sure there's no place you'd rather be than reading this. Blaine is my husband. Like, me and Marissa, we're sharing him. We are in a throuple. She gets him Monday through Friday. I get him on a weekend. When Sierra put out her prayer that she used to get Russell, I just made sure I added Asher Blaine's name into it, and it was great. Like, Asher is the perfect balance of sweet and spicy, boss and badass, gentleman and savage. He's everything. And Marissa matched his energy. She said, I give as good as I get. And baby, I'm getting, because I'm giving. She is that female main character that is, like, perfectly imperfect. She is a woman of her word. She's resolute in her decisions, and she's the backbone of those that she loves, right? So she makes sure as much love and affection and energy Asher is pouring into her, she made sure by the end of the book that he felt every piece of it. This is a roommates to lovers. This is a friends or enemies with benefits. This is just real life woven into books, right? Like, this has a lot of situations that me and my homegirls have been in. Maybe not to the extent that she was in, but fantastic. Pick it up. So, that being said, again, fourth quarter was a really amazing read for me. I loved every single thing. I'm going to ask that you all put a boxing or some sort of sport emoji for Seth and his brothers, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.